We're back, boys. We're roasting people. Rules are you can't be nice. Just destroy these renders because most of them are pretty bad. Let's open up the first one. Anybody got anything to say?
Yeah, I want to say that I can't really tell what's going on here with the body. Like, is that wolf inside of ice? And then why? And why is it under shelter? I don't get what's going on here.
Yeah,
Also,
it doesn't make sense.
the lighting is really confusing. Like, part of this feels like it's nighttime, but then there's like a campfire. But then if you look at the background, it's like a daytime backdrop. So
maybe what this guy or girl, probably guy, is trying to do is like they took what would have been a good render and just made it as confusing as possible. They just put a bunch of objects into foreground, messed up their lighting intentionally, kind of just like messed with their composition until it didn't look good anymore.
yeah,
Maybe that was the idea.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't tell if it's like snow or ice either. Like, what is it made out of? This is like ground.
So the
Generic
materials are
ground.
bad, you're saying?
Yeah, the materials aren't that great.
Yeah, I'd say the wood honestly could use a bit of work. Like some of it looks a bit plasticky to me, especially the
Looks like
planks
it's
at the top.
Yeah, it's heavily denoised too. Like for the wood.
Also, like storytelling. How did this happen? And why is there like little branches of sticks coming out of the ice as well, like around the dog or wolf or whatever it is? And if it's a wolf, why has it got like a collar? Is that a collar? I don't.
Looks like he MS paint a bit of red on top.
Is he awake too? Like, is he know he's chopping ice, or is he like dead?
Does it look dead? It kind of looks like
I
he's
don't
been
know.
stabbed, like for real, like around the like lower legs.
Yeah,
So honestly, my biggest thing is that this is like overwhelming. It just looks bad. It could be good if you just strip away some elements, but it's just too much.
The idea is also just way too confusing.
Yeah, why would it be under 2 layers
like
of
how does
shelter?
ever happen?
Yeah.
How does ever happen underneath this little hut here, whatever this is?
Ratings, I'm gonna go with 2 out of 10.
I'll be generous with a 3.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll do 3 too.
Okay, average score is like 2.6 or something. Next render, number 2 by By Potato Mane. He has a skeleton that looks like it's made out of candle wax.
Yeah, I have something to say about this because when we did my stream yesterday, we saw someone that used the same model in one of their artworks, and I said, "Hold on, I recognize this. I've seen this everywhere. These people didn't make this. This is just downloaded from the internet and done into a render. So there's no modeling effort that's been done here whatsoever."
Wait, Curtis. It looks like
Oh, there
he
wasn't?
modeled the apple at the top, which is actually the worst element of the whole piece. So he just like downloaded this thing. He's like, you know what? He needs to be holding something, and he just modeled it himself.
And oh my god, check out that color dispersion there at the top.
Yeah, it's like 3 or something, so the 3 on the compositor.
Is that to hide the lack of effort that's gone into the apple type thing?
True. And like honestly, so he made 2 things. He made the apple and he made the background. And for some reason the background looks a bit weird. It looks like this gradient from bright to dark to bright instead of just like a solid color or something else.
You could have chosen like any other color than Blender's default background. How creative is that?
I will say the color choice is like eh. And that's probably the best thing I have to say about this.
It also looked like someone turned up the subsurface value just to try and
That's
Yeah.
all they did to it. There's no like texture to it at all.
I wonder if it's intentional because like clearly it's supposed to be a statue, but I don't know if it's going for like candle wax kind of feel. Ratings.
because I know that this has been downloaded and reused, I'm going to give this a 1.
Yeah, same here.
I'm
1.
going to go with, because like I think he just made the apple. Honestly, I don't know if it's an apple, but since that's the only thing that's made, I'll critique that and I'll give that a 0. Good job,
Wow.
Potato Mane. Okay, on to Nibir, who made a what is that?
If we can even call it a fried egg, I can't tell.
So there's like no shadow on the egg, but there, at least I don't see it, but there's shadows for
It's
the
like
bowl.
floating in the bowl too. It's floating inside of it.
Yeah, it's not really like properly connected to the bowl. And also, what's up with that bowl material too? Even hold on, no, the counter material as well. It's all just a bit too amateur. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you just slapped on an
Well,
image for the
blurry.
wood, or maybe you didn't
Blurry.
slap on an image. What looks blurred?
It
It's
does look a
really
bit,
blurry, the background and the material on the dish.
yeah, it looks a bit too stretched. The wood type material going on a bit.
Yeah,
But
materials in general here are lacking. You have four. The wood sucks. The bull sucks. The white is just white, and you messed up the yolk. It's supposed to be
yeah.
liquidy, not look like reflective, solid plastic or something.
Also, I can see the polygons around the edge of the
Yes,
egg white.
that's a smooth shading issue.
Yeah.
Would you say the shape of it's like correct though? Like I can't tell.
Not really, no,
Uh,
because you got some like tiny little bits. I don't really know how to describe it.
Like
Like,
teardrops, you mean?
you know, yeah, like teardrop bits, but also it's not. It doesn't feel like it's connected to the surface of the bowl. I think it's probably because it was difficult for them to sculpt, so it just looks like way too inflated around the edges.
And
You
I
know, it
will
needs to be,
say,
yeah, the
yeah,
edges need to be darker too.
and with the inflated thing, this is kind of like the volume kind of changes radially. As you go out further from the yolk, it gets thinner, usually, whenever I cook an egg. So it should be highest near the yolk, and then it should get super thin at
Yeah.
the edges. Whereas
Yeah.
this has like the same thickness and makes it look kind of like a little like vomit, like a little.
Yeah, 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 that's how I describe it. It looks like stylized vomit, the shape of it.
In a nice
sort of-
bowl on a nice
Yeah.
surface.
It's the sort of shape that you would see on the ground in. I don't know if any of you ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon 3.
Yeah.
When the people could throw up on the ground.
Just
That's
bend
what-
over a little, yeah.
Yeah, that's what that shape looks like.
Yeah, lighting's garbage. Like that one harsh shadow is just off-putting. That's pretty much all I have to say about this one. Anybody else?
No, I'm
No.
done with this one. I'm bored of it.
Ratings?
Uh,
0.
I'm gonna give it a 2 because more effort went into it than the last guys.
That's true.
I'm gonna go with the 2 as well. Same reason. Okay, what do we got? We got Smith with the Cosmos.
Well, I have something to say about this. This looks suspiciously like one of the demonstrations from one of my Nebula tutorials, so I wonder where you got that idea from.
Andy messed it up.
Yeah, and I can also see that you've got two different types of styles going on. You've got the basic Voronoi one, which looks suspiciously similar to the one that I had in the world nodes, and you've got some emissive ones going on as well. So, yeah.
So I don't know much about like the whole volumetric like nebula trend. And I know you've done. I mean, you made the tutorial. Would you say that he got the volumes right?
Well, it's hard to say really because when making that stuff, it was always a battle between stylized look and a realistic look. We're trying to see how realistic you could get it, and there was quite a lot of limitations. This doesn't look like it's been pushed any further than my original video. In fact, this looks worse than my original video.
True.
Because in my original one, even in all the demonstrations I provided, which were free to download and look at, I made sure that emphasis was put on giving the entire scene a sense of atmospherics, because if you've got nebulas like this, it sort of disperses out into the surrounding space as well, rather than just having like these harsh corners on the volumetric shape.
That's a good point. It does look very like there's purple regions and then there's not purple regions. There's no like transition. And I'd say that like the general stars, like all those like colored dots, the overlaying is just like one on top of the other. They're not like less visible through the purple haze, which they
Yeah.
would be because
Also, I can-
light
yeah.
doesn't go through as easily.
I can see clipping
also-
going on.
And also the stars are either really large or really small. There's no like in between at all.
That is true, I guess.
I can also see clipping going on with the volume here because I can see where it fades out. You might not realize it unless you actually do an experiment with this yourself. But if you're making it with the world nodes, it goes on forever basically. But if you're up to like the clipping setting distance, but if you're doing it inside of a cube, then it only goes up so far, which is what it looks like here. Because if you look in the sort of center to the right, the nebula fades off into nowhere there, where there should be more structures carrying on.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it just looks like a camera's being placed looking at in a bad direction, where I can clearly see like the clip fading going on, and I don't know, I just think it's a pretty low effort nebula, to be honest.
I do wish there was more color variation. This purple is just kind of like, it's all there is. There's no
Yeah.
visual interest. Because all the nebula renders I saw, they had like at least 3 different like colors of mist. Usually it was like purple, brown, and like something else.
Yeah, I put like a variety of different colored examples online, all free to download, so you have no excuse for making a terrible nebula render.
Well, at least you didn't plagiarize, you know? So that's
Yeah.
not a 0 out of 10. I'm going to give him a 1.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go with a 1 as well.
I would say, yeah, 1.
Okay, not bad. Is that a top score? No, somebody got like a 2.6 average. Okay,
The first one, I think.
Brosado. Okay.
Yes.
Interesting. I know you had something to say about this, Curtis.
Yeah. One thing I hate, it's a pet peeve, is when people do that at and then their like tag name inside of the render, because it just completely detracts from the rest of the render. And also, why do they pick such a strange font when doing it? It's not just this person. I've seen other people do it as well, way too much.
I think it was going for like a skater vibe, which is why you have all this like fisheye stuff going on too. Where would you put the like branding? Like in the corner or something?
I don't know. I don't like the whole circle fisheye thing because we can't see like most of the details inside of this render anyway. It's like a lot of it's just gone to waste. And even on the desk area, you see the light there. It's so like overexposed that we can't see all the detail that's been put on the desk.
I got
So
the real question here. You see those 3 circular mirrors?
yeah.
They're reflecting bricks, but from where?
Ooh.
True. You can't do that. You either need to put. Well, I'm assuming. I mean, that's interesting. I guess it's kind of like that's the wall that they remove so you can see into the room, but it's still like in the reflections. It
Yeah.
is a bit strange, though.
Yeah, it is. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest.
I don't know how to approach it differently other than maybe removing the mirrors, but it is a bit strange. Modeling's like, eh. Nothing crazy. I'd say that the bed doesn't really feel like that clothy. Maybe it's because of like the super harsh wireframe thing over it. But
Yeah, when you break this down, most of the shapes in this scene can be done with primitives. Just bashing primitives together. Most of the shapes.
yeah, I'd say
Yeah,
I'd say
yeah.
in
Like a fabric
general,
texture or something.
presentation's like interesting. It could be good. You didn't do it well, but it could be done well. So I think maybe try harder, and maybe you can get higher than a 2.5 out of 10.
Yeah, and I will also say, why does it need to say room at the top? We're not
Well,
stupid.
how would you know what it is? I mean,
We
I don't know
clearly
what it is. What is that?
Yeah, don't treat your viewers like idiots, and maybe you'll get a higher score. There we go.
What is your score?
I'm gonna give this. I'm actually gonna give it a 3, which is I think is the same as the score that I gave the first one. Because
It is like super stylized.
yeah, there has been more modeling effort that's gone into it. It's definitely more than some of the other entries.
Syncretic?
I would say 3 probably. Yeah.
Okay, there you have it. What do we got? Ooh, my favorite. We got a Garag. Bad name. That's a bad start.
I think it's supposed to be garage.
Give it a
Heat.
giggle. Let's give it a giggle. I think.
Okay.
He should work on that name.
Yeah.
Should work on that donut. So here's what you have to understand, and I'm sure everybody knows this. When you type in Blender into YouTube, the first result is the donut tutorial, and this is what it's based off of. It's undeniable because of the whole pink, and it has the same kind of camera angle as the render that Andrew did. But it doesn't look like a donut. The frosting's like thick as fuck. The wood looks horrible. The background is just kind of like, why does it just go to gray immediately? What else?
Also, the dough looks almost furry around the edges. Like it. Andrew Price's tutorial was a step-by-step tutorial. How did you manage to mess it up?
True. And I mean, this is kind of hard to avoid, but the particles or the sprinkles are intersecting.
Yes.
But that is something hard to avoid,
I was gonna say,
honestly.
I know we're not allowed to give like compliments or really excuses, but yeah, to be honest, that is more a software issue for Blender.
I mean, at a minimum, you could try like messing with the seed until there aren't like obvious intersections. But like the sprinkles at the front, the ones like facing me, are already intersecting.
Also, I'm seeing some shading issues on the icing around the lower edges. You see, with I think that's some smooth shading. You could probably solve that with a subsurf, but yeah, I don't like that too much.
I don't know how.
The texture looks really stretched too, like the texture
The
on the
wood?
donut.
Oh,
That too, yeah. Like it looks really like the displacement there is really too high. I think, especially with the knot down there in the bottom left corner.
I don't know how Andrew did his. I didn't watch it. I assume he did a fluid sim for the frosting. I'm not sure, but this just kind of looks like badly modeled on top.
I'd say the best thing in this artwork is the wood, and I know you didn't make that material.
Get him. So, like, here's the thing. People who have never touched Blender, the first tutorial they go to is the donut thing. So, for a lot of people, it is their first result, and it looks 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times better than this. So, absolute 0 for me.
I'm gonna go with a 1 again because I feel like we've had an entry that had almost no modeling effort whatsoever, and that sort of set the bar for scoring for me. So I'm gonna give this one a 1.
1 for me. Just because
You guys are being generous.
Well, I mean, like, it is off of a tutorial, right? Like,
Which means it should at least look as good as the tutorial, right? You literally just follow the clicks.
Don't misinterpret my score. This is absolute trash. Let's move on so I don't throw up.
Okay, well, now we have Big Bean. I will say this is the only render so far that I thought looked pretty, like, realistic and put together. It's hard to find stuff I don't like about it.
I'm sorry, was that a compliment?
It wasn't a I'm just okay. Like, if somebody gives me a render that looks real, like this one, I'm not gonna like make up stuff that I don't like about it.
Right, yeah. So this looks like an overlay over some imagery, which, to be honest, I feel like is a little bit low effort. And also, what the hell is going on in this?
It's like a little Shrek asylum or something.
image.
That one Shrek's like dead over there. Somebody shot him against the crate.
And also, if you're gonna like composite things over the top of a photograph, try and get the darkness of the shadows consistent. Because I look at this Spitfire like in the foreground here, and then look at some of the shadows on the back to the left. You know,
He's like cooking donkey or something. What's he eating?
yeah.
The shading,
material on
yes.
The material on the meat is way too shiny too.
And speaking of like
For the-
shading and stuff like this, Shrek, bottom left Shrek, you see the left to right. There's a clean break there. There's no like smooth shading from left to right of the head. Makes it look like his face is like, two-face divided in two.
yeah. I will say as well, I've seen this exact same Shrek model in other renders, so I know they didn't make this. So, negative points for low effort again.
Do you think he rigged it though?
I don't think so, because I've seen other people put it in different poses. I assume it's something that's just ready to download rigged.
Okay. Well, I mean, one thing is the sun, I think, is coming from the right direction, just judging on these, like, Shrek heads. I think I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10.
I think you're being generous.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I would say if you removed everything that you added to the original picture, it would be better.
And if you removed everything, what would the score be?
Give it a 4.
Syncretic?
I'll give it a 2. There's not much going on. There's not much really to the materials here. Or
Even
anything
numbers
for
across the
color.
board. Okay,
What's that?
and now, I'm just saying we had even numbers. We had 2, 4, and 6. I mean,
Nice.
I don't know what that means, but it is true. Okay, Pasta Crusader, coming with like a vintage, I don't know. I've seen a lot of these kinds of renders before. Some of them do it well. This one doesn't. Here's the thing. Like, the color scheme he's got, like that like blue-orange thing that pulls your focus to where it's supposed to be. But, like Curtis said, I think off recording, your focus is supposed to be there, yet the depth of field is kind of, the focal plane is on the wood, not the cup.
Yeah, like the thing you're supposed to be focusing on, you're not. And when I first looked at this image, I didn't even realize that there were extra coins behind the two that are in the midground because it was just so blurry. And it sort of looks like the focus for your depth of field is the wood that's in front of the glass. And you've got like most of the glass in it. It sort of feels like you focused on the glass and then completely forgot about all the other details in your scene. But I have a suspicion that it's because there's absolutely no details on the actual coin things. And just to hide it, you've decided to increase the blur rather than, actually put the effort into adding more detail.
Could be. What are your guys' opinion on the fog? Is it like too much on the cup?
It's
A
a
little
bit,
bit too much. Yeah.
yeah,
It's not subtle enough.
it's a bit unrealistic, I think.
I feel like some people like find out about this whole like grunge fingerprint thing, and then they always go overboard.
And try to,
Especially on
yeah.
phone renders, they always have the fingerprints all over the phone. Or sorry, they have fingerprints all over the phone. This kind of is in the similar territory where it's like a bit too much, honestly. And I said that what I thought before is that the wood might be a bit too shiny. Like maybe if you spilled some of that drink on it, then it'd be that shiny. But I don't know why it's that shiny.
Yeah, given that the actual composition slash render for this isn't too great, I really doubt that you've had any involvement in making this wood material or the material for the glass or anything like that. I feel like the extent of the effort that's put into this is just the squashed cylinders that are now out of focus.
They do. I mean, they kind of look like gold coins, maybe. If you like fill in the gaps there. Whatever. I'm giving it. I think this one's actually like decent. 2 out of 10.
I'm gonna go for a. I'm gonna go for another 4 on this one.
I would give it a 3.
Okay. Well, is that the last one?
Yeah, I will just say,
that's one.
CG,
Yeah.
this started off as a proper roast, but you got soft. You got softer towards the end.
I didn't get soft. This is my fan base. I gave him high scores. I gave him super high scores, actually. I want him to improve. Some of these people are unredeemable, but anybody who I gave a score above 2, I think is redeemable, especially the Shrek guy.
Yeah.
This Big Bean.
I will just say I was given an instruction at the beginning that said give no compliments whatsoever.
Listen. It wasn't a compliment. Well, what did I say that was a compliment? I just said that the Shrek one was
the big one.
He also said that the render color for the last one was pretty good.
Yeah, but I'm saying he didn't like come up with this like blue and orange thing.
Okay,
He copied it well,
that's
just
fair.
like the skeleton guy.
I feel like we got to push them harder if they want to learn.
This is the first roast. I guess we can. If we do this again, I'll go harder.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna end the recording, boys.